In 2015, I almost ended my life. But if I ended my life, I never would have known that the school I hated would give me my best friends, that moving away would save me from potential gang life, or that I'd move again, and this time with peace instead of pain. You don't see your story clearly while you're still in the middle of it. But I promise you, if you're going through a pretty rough patch where you feel like it will never be okay, it's really not over yet. If you saw my quote-unquote part 1 of this video, then you know what happened. But if you haven't, here's the short version. In 2015, I moved away from everything I loved. My school, my neighborhood, and my childhood friends. And at 15, I didn't think I'd ever find that kind of belonging again. I thought I had lost everything that made me feel like me. You know that feeling where your whole life shifts and you don't even recognize yourself anymore? And then based off all that, one day I almost ended it all. The story of that first video was about the spiral and how I somehow made it out alive. But this video isn't about that. This one's different because today I don't want to talk about how I survived. I want to talk about how everything changed after I did. Because when you're in it, when you're drowning, your brain tricks you into thinking life will always feel that way. But life doesn't shift on a daily scale. It shifts on a seasonal one. You rarely feel it happening. But weeks from now, maybe months, maybe years, maybe 5 years from now, you'll look back and realize you've grown into an entirely different person in an entirely different life. And that's why I need you to hear what I'm about to say, because it might explain why you've felt stuck for so long, why things haven't gotten better, even though you've been trying. Because if you've been measuring your life in hours or days, I'm gonna show you what it looks like to measure in years or decades. Okay, so one of the biggest reasons I started spiraling back in 2015 was because I moved just 30 minutes away. I know, it's dramatic. And it sounds so small when I say it out loud now. But back then, it wrecked me. It felt like someone had taken my whole life, shaken it up like a snow globe, and told me to figure out where the pieces landed. But I didn't recognize the landscape anymore. In the place of everything I loved, I got a school that I hated, classmates that I didn't connect with, and a life that I didn't recognize. I felt like I had been dropped into someone else's story, and I started believing the lie that things would never get better. That's what pain does. It shrinks your perspective until you forget life can ever feel good again. But what if the thing that broke you was actually trying to guide you? Because sometimes the exact moment you feel like giving up is the beginning of everything that's meant to find you. Back then, I was desperate to hold on to my old life, my old friends, my old routines, because I thought losing them meant losing myself. But here's what I didn't realize until years later. If I had stayed close to those friends, I would have walked straight into a life that I wasn't built for, that really nobody is built for. A lot of the people I couldn't imagine losing back then ended up going down a path that I would have really hated. Some of them joined gangs, and most of them got on some drugs. According to the CDC, kids who grow up in high-risk environments with violent peers are more likely to be pulled into those same cycles just from being around them. You really are the company that you keep. And the scariest part is, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens when you stop noticing the red flags, because those red flags start to feel normal. If I stayed, I would have been caught up in that too. Not because I'm that type of person, but because I didn't have a strong sense of who I was without them. That move pulled me away from a danger I couldn't even see at the time. It dropped me into a new life I didn't want, but needed. Because in that new school, where I swore I didn't belong, I met the people who changed everything. And looking back, I realized something wild. Life didn't just pull me out of danger. It planted me somewhere that I could grow. But seeds don't feel safe when they're underground. So if you're in the dark right now, let me show you what it looks like when the light finally breaks through. I'll be honest, when I first met my new classmates, I didn't like them. They weren't like my old crew. I didn't want to talk to them, and I didn't even want to like them. It was like walking into a group chat that had been active for a few years, and I was one of the new ones. But over time, the notifications started including me. The inside jokes became ours. One thing that I mentioned in the last video was, that I hated these guys. But I forgot to mention that after these last 10 years, those guys that I hated, I now have the honor of calling them my brothers. Because they changed my life, and I love every single one of them. It's not just the fake smiles or shared classes, but a loyalty that we all have, memories, growth. They pulled me out of isolation. They brought me into new circles. They introduced me to new paths I never would have taken on my own. They didn't just become my friends. They became the people who shaped who I am today. And if you're one of those friends, you suck, I hate you. Pretend that I didn't say any of that and just keep watching the video. And the craziest part is that I almost ended everything before I got the chance to get close to them. So if it feels like your life is stuck in a dry, pointless chapter, then let me show you what happens when you stick around long enough for the real characters to show up. So why am I making this video right now? Well, it's because I just moved again. Another 30 minutes, ironically. Same situation almost exactly 10 years later. But this time, it felt different. Different direction, different version of me. I'm not angry, I'm not lost, and I'm definitely not panicking. I'm excited and I'm hopeful. Because now, I understand what change can bring. Back then, I thought change meant loss. But now, I know change can mean freedom. It's like finally outgrowing a cage you thought was a home. You didn't even realize how small you were living until you start stretching. So if life's pushing you somewhere new, emotionally, physically, spiritually, don't resist it just because it's unfamiliar. Because the cage you're clinging to is just decorated like comfort. And what you're running from might be the open door. Maybe that's you right now. Maybe you've been feeling this way for weeks or months and you haven't told anyone. But I promise you, your life still has a future, even if it doesn't look like it from where you're standing. There's research showing that people who think that they want to end it all don't usually come from wanting life to end, but from feeling like there's no way forward. It's not about death, it's about escape. You don't need to believe everything will be perfect. You just need to believe that tomorrow might be slightly better than today. And that's the theme of this video, the idea of hope. All of this is the thread of hope that you hold onto when you're drowning. And one of the popular sayings in Islam is that God is closer to you at all times than your jugular vein. Knowing that in the back of my mind always helps me keep going. And somehow, life always answers. Because over time, those threads of hope build something stronger. And if you've made it this far, you're probably the kind of person I'd love to have in my community. So if you want to connect with people like you, people who actually get it, and who are trying to rebuild too, you can join the Discord below. And if you want to go even deeper, YouTube memberships are open too. You'll get early access to uploads, unreleased content, and more. So yeah, just stay long enough to meet the version of you who's proud of how far you've come. That version of you exists, and I'm proud to say that I've met mine. And trust me, if you knew who I was back then, you'd never guess I'd make it to this version. And you will too. So if any part of this hit home, know that it's not enough to just make it out of your darkest season. You have to build something after. Or one day, you'll wake up and realize that you survived, but you're still stuck. That's what my last video was about, because most people escape the spiral only to fall into another trap. They replace doom scrolling with self-help content, thinking that watching change is the same as living it.